Yo, what's good with y'all, man? It's Yooooooo Hoops, and today we about to be talking about some hoops, man. In today's video, we about to be talking about some Anthony Davis potential trade offers. And as most of us knows, if you've been watching a lick of basketball over the past 2 years, the Lakers suck this season. With some brand new expectations, kind of, sort of, maybe. They have still sucked. And to be honest, I mean, it's to obvious issues that a lot of sports media have been covering. Anthony Davis injury issues, LeBron's getting older, Russell Westbrook's poor fit in the starting lineup, nobody can hit threes, they have no floor spacers, the lack of competent role players, and without many notable names, with this being a very top-heavy team, and in my opinion, just didn't have the roster to cater to the star talent that they have. They're finding a new scapegoat in town since Westbrook's been playing pretty productively off the six-man role on the bench, and Frank Vogel's already been fired. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Darvin Ham is next up on this list, despite him being only 10 games into his tenure with the Lakers. I've already seen wild shit circling sports media where certain NBA fans are requesting they trade LeBron already and throw the whole season away. That being said, the Lakers scapegoat for this week is the one and only Anthony Davis. And there's also been multiple reports stating that the Lakers are no longer interested in the Pacers trade to get Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, or interested in getting Kyrie. Instead, that they're waiting for a specific player to become available. Now, in recent interviews to some of their losses, Anthony Davis did point out how the defense was a point of emphasis for why they have lost a lot of games, with a lot of star players around the league even taking notice to how the Lakers have been playing. It almost feels as if every team that goes against the Lakers on a night-to-night basis is just getting theirs, with the lack of will in this team to fight in their game, specifically when it comes to the second half of the games as well. AD's performances in recent games in the second half doesn't really help his case why he shouldn't get traded off this team, especially because the recycled talking point of how he was supposed to be a top 5 to 10 player in the league right now at this point. There was comparisons to Giannis. They won a chip in 2020, and he just hasn't lived up to that first option role on this team, and I don't think he will ever, to be honest, especially given the man's injury history. But again, these are recycled talking points. We know the Lakers are disappointing. We know AD should be doing more. He's not. Let's see what teams would be willing to trade for him and whether he'd be a good fit or not. Alright, so with the first suggested trade from Bleacher Report, we got the Dallas Mavericks. This trade, the Lakers would be receiving Christian Wood, Reggie Bullock, and Spencer Dinwiddie. Now, the Lakers would be receiving a handful of picks as well with this, so it would help them better prepare for the future in terms of their draft prospects and whatever sleeper picks they hopefully, luck out on, or whatever the case may be, or making future trades. But it also would give them some much needed depth on this roster. Now, Christian Wood, I believe, is 26 years old. And I did make a video talking briefly about him where I did say that he's been Luka's most productive teammates in the past few years, just because he's very versatile on the offensive end. He could stretch the floor, which the Lakers desperately need. He could finish in the paint around mixed matches, solid rebounder, create a shot of his own, and put the ball on the floor if you need him to, and just overall a very quality offensive player in today's NBA. But on the defensive side, with this move, you will guarantee be taking a hit. Although Wood would have the potential of playing the 4 or the 5 for this team, he just wouldn't provide that same level of defensive versatility that AD gives, being able to protect the basket at an elite rate and switch across all 5 positions if need be effectively. And he's 214 pounds. I mean, he's the same height as AD, but he's pretty light in the ass, and I do see him struggling to guard opposing big men more dominant than him, you feel me, in the Western Conference. That being said, the other part of this package is Spencer Dinwiddie, who I believe would be serving as a quality offensive pickup for this Lakers team if this trade was to happen, whether he was starting or coming off the bench. Provide another offensive boost, being another shot creator for them as well. He can also space the floor. And then you have Reggie Bullock, who would provide some 3-and-D, which this team could use, because if they lost Anthony Davis, they would not have much consistent good defense on that perimeter outside of the energy that Patrick Beverley brings. Now, I'm not saying Bullock is some lockdown defender, but he provides that Jay Crowder aspect. He's gonna stand there on the perimeter, he's gonna catch and shoot that thing. Don't expect him to really do much off the dribble, and he can guard other wing players on opposing teams. Now, as for the Luka and AD pairing, I do feel like this is exactly the type of player that Dallas could use to bring them to that next level out of the West, especially given competent role pieces in Dorian Finney-Smith, JaVale McGee, Maxi Kleber. This will just give Anthony Davis more of that roaming freestyle defense that he was hoping for in LA, with having role players that actually can guard the perimeter and effectively switch onto any position 1 through 5, alongside a good defensive coach in Jason Kidd. And not even just to mention the offensive pairing between him and Luka would be insane in the pick and roll. AD has fallen off as a floor spacer in the previous couple of years, but I still know that with a point guard and Luka, that will not be a problem, especially in a system like Dallas, where he'll be given a lot more floor spacing to finish around the basket and to be on the receiving end of some Luka magic lobs. His role on offense will be more clear and a lot more reliable as a second option behind a younger superstar in Luka, and the flexibility of playing either the 4 or the 5 given their big man rotation. Though I believe the fit would be more effective than the Porzingis trade, I do believe that the results would be similar if AD would not be able to take care of his health and remain in the lineup due to injury. In this next trade with the Knicks, the Lakers would be receiving basically the whole Knicks young core of RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, Obi Toppin, and Quentin Grimes, along with another handful of picks. Now, specifically examining the picks that would be included in this trade, you're talking about picks from Milwaukee, Detroit, I believe the Knicks themselves, and Dallas. Now, Dallas and Milwaukee, they're pretty good teams for their respective conferences. Cool. Detroit is literally a rebuilding team, and the Knicks are the Knicks. So it's like, number one, those picks are valuable. And despite them being protected within the means of this trade, I don't know if you really would want to risk your whole future away for an injury-prone 29-year-old Anthony Davis. Now, again, he is the best player in this deal, so hypothetically, if you're going to get a player of this talent, you're going to have to fork up a decent amount of your future or some quality players within the deal. Now, Quentin Grimes and Obi Toppin, as of right now in their careers, despite having the potential to be more, are just quality rotational pieces. I mean, unless they go to the Lakers and they start turning shit up, averaging 15 apiece, and being quality on the defensive end, which in Obi's case is a lot less likely at this point in his career as well, then, I mean, I guess you'll be getting a significant return for Anthony Davis, and then alongside RJ Barrett, who's decent, and Mitchell Robinson, who's a solid rim protector in the league, and one of the better ones in the NBA right now, alongside his rebounding, which I do think on the defensive end, they will be returning a decent haul back for giving up a top 5 defensive player in the league right now. But again, Mitchell Robinson isn't the healthiest, for one. 2, you would be banking on Obi and Quentin Grimes' ascension to really be decent players for this Lakers roster, even though they have the floor spacing. And even then, Mitchell Robinson would be killing your floor spacing because he's not even going to shoot a damn shot for y'all. As if the spacing on the court wasn't bad enough with AD's abysmal shooting percentages. And then Obi isn't consistent from perimeter as well, although he can be a solid lob target, I guess, if you're looking for that. Quentin Grimes, he's a solid perimeter shooter, could give you that 3-and-D action, and maybe he develops a handle, could create off the ball, who knows. And with the main piece in this deal being RJ Barrett, who recently just signed a big-ass contract coming off of his rookie deal. I mean, he's averaging about 20 this season. Last year, he had a good second half to the season as well, and he's still finding his perimeter shot, which would be key in this move because you would really need him to grow in that aspect if he's going to be playing alongside a LeBron James and a Russell Westbrook, you feel me? But again, I don't know if the fit is entirely there, and I do believe that he would have to become a lot more of an off-the-ball player or just develop more of a consistent handle. We know his right hand isn't the greatest. I don't know, man. I mean, this move doesn't just seem like a great return on either side. And then you have AD going to the Knicks. He's not going to transform them into this conference finals, Eastern Conference team. I doubt they would really even be a sure-in playoff team, especially if he's not healthy. I guess you have him and Julius Randle reunited, and he can make them a way better defensive team, especially with Tom Thibodeau being there. You got Jalen Brunson. Maybe they could be a playoff team in the East, who really knows, but I still wouldn't take them over teams like Miami or Milwaukee or even Philly or Cleveland. So, I mean, yeah, I just don't see how this would benefit both sides, and especially if AD really isn't healthy, then it's the Knicks throwing away their future for just a star talent. But if this move were to happen, I would automatically assume the Lakers are hitting the rebuild button, and that LeBron and Russ would definitely be the next ones on their way out. Next trade, we got a deal involving the Nets and the Lakers in a straight-up trade for Anthony Davis and Kevin Durant. But I guess the deal isn't so straight up because in this Bleacher Report, they're saying involving an unprotected first-round pick from the Lakers. And you'd be damned if you thought the Lakers would give up a pick in this situation, especially coming from two injury-riddled stars. But let's dive into whether this is a good fit or not. So obviously, KD being a top 10 to top 5 talent that he is, he would put the Lakers in contention if this trade was to go through. But like I mentioned, he is pretty injury riddled at this point in his career. And though he's been playing a majority of his games this season and he didn't miss too many games last season and he managed to play through a playoff series, let's be real, that Achilles injury is no joke, bro. And I don't think that he is really ever going to play an 82-game season again, let alone be ready for a playoff series if he does that. I guess if you had him on a team with LeBron, you'd be able to, stagger their minutes together or play them in such a way in certain night-to-night basis where, either one of them get their rest and, LeBron with his hamstring. Honestly, this would just be going all in for Kevin Durant, especially given that he has another 3 years on his contract. And, it'd be cool to see him reunited with Russ and all, but I still don't think they would have that chemistry that would take them over the top against some top-tier Western Conference teams. But again, you have two top 10 talents on the same team with Kevin Durant and LeBron, a duo that would consist of one of the most versatile scorers of all time, alongside the best point forward of all time. With or without Westbrook, I'm pretty sure that would guarantee them at least a top 10 offense. They would be risking having a big hole in their big man rotations if they were to make such a move, giving up AD for KD, because even though KD is solid on the defensive end, he's not blocking any shots for you consistently given at this age. And at this point, unless you're really hell-bent on LeBron playing center at 38 years old, I don't really think that they really have a wide variety of big men to turn to if this trade happened. This specific deal, this is all under the assumption that Westbrook is still on the roster and not traded for that big man. Then when you got AD heading to Brooklyn hypothetically in this deal, I just feel that this fit would go wrong for all the wrong reasons, not even pertaining entirely to basketball. But while we're on one, AD's injury riddled, if I didn't say that already. You have Kyrie, who's also injury riddled and just deals with a lot of off the court drama that keeps him off the floor. Then you got Ben Simmons going through the mental cases that he's going through and just the dark media cloud that Brooklyn has over them. I just don't think it would be very ideal for AD to really leave a situation where he's already dealing with heavy media scrutiny to go to a smaller market team that deals with the same amount of negative publicity. But then again, if we're speaking hypothetically for this situation, then it doesn't really matter what's ideal for this scenario because AD wouldn't have a choice. So anyways, he would definitely help them on the rebounding end and the defensive side. You do have to question the spacing between him and Simmons and whether Kyrie is, consistent enough to play. I don't really know if the Nets would be really getting the best potential return for a KD trade in this scenario. I definitely would apply pressure to get a young potential star player. Hopefully some notable rotational pieces if the right offer comes by. And I would stack my draft capital by getting more picks. Because contention is just out the cards for Brooklyn to me, to be honest, especially with just all the drama going on. So I'll just say they start fresh if they're going to trade KD, especially with Kyrie going with the things he's going through. I'm going to make a video on that soon, but he's probably going to be on his way out of there too. So, this is just both teams holding on to straws to really remain in contention when most fan bases would just recommend they tank in this situation. And especially with KD, it'd be cool to see him go for another ring alongside LeBron and reuniting with Russ. It'd just be a little too late to collab these stars together in hopes of a championship run for years to come, especially as these stars get older and approaching their mid-30s, injuries playing a factor. And it doesn't really help their defensive woes. They still would have a pretty ass bench unit and not many role players to complement this fit together. Unless they manage to trade for some quality role players or sign some quality role players with Russ being off the books after this season, then maybe. Although I do think LeBron and KD would be a really solid duo in this league. The West is only going to get better and these stars are only going to get older. And last but not least, we got a trade with the Bulls and the Lakers in which the Lakers will be receiving Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, and Goran Dragic alongside a 2023 first-round pick via Portland from the Chicago Bulls. And the Bulls will be receiving Anthony Davis. When it comes to the Lakers side of the deal, when it comes to this trade, gaining a 3-level scorer such as Zach LaVine, who scores as consistently and as efficiently as he does on a night-to-night basis, is pretty effective. And though he's struggling with the consistency this season on the offensive end, you would definitely be getting yourself one of the better two guards in the league. And I believe Zach LaVine is one of those stars who is effective in playing alongside any ball dominant star because of his great ability to score off the ball. I don't think that this would make the Lakers any more of a playoff team in the West. LaVine is only 27 and recently did sign a 4 to 5 year contract with the Bulls. He does have a history of lower body injuries in these past 2 seasons. And not to mention that just every player in this deal has just dealt with some form of consistent injury history. But in this hypothetical scenario, given LaVine and Patrick Williams' youth, this would give the Lakers some quality pieces to either build from, whether they decide to tank or to continue to compete. I do think this will definitely help them on the offensive side of the ball, and gaining players like Goran Dragic to come off the bench, who's shown that he has something left in the tank in this season, at least on Chicago, as he is averaging 10 points and shooting above 45% from the field and from 3. He could be a quality floor spacer for them off the bench and another shot creator for them to go in the offense as well. And Patrick Williams is still very young with some potential in the defensive end of the floor and growing his offensive game as well. We still got to see if the handle ever comes around or if he could be ever a legitimate shot creator in the NBA, or if he'll just flat out be a solid 3-and-D role player to have in your rotation. He has good awareness of when to cut to the basket, and he knows how to attack closeouts, attacking the basket pretty aggressively if needed too, alongside the fact that he's a quality offensive rebounder at his position as well. Be real with you, given the man's injury history in his past 2 seasons, it's hard to give a detailed analysis on how his game will turn out. Aside from that, I mean, on the Chicago end, you get Anthony Davis alongside DeMar DeRozan and Vucevic. Already seems like a very questionable defensive front court. But I'm not going to lie, given the talent that all 3 of those guys have on the offensive end, as they potentially become the league's most offensively talented front court, I could see this team's ceiling being a top 10 offense that ends up being a first-round exit come playoff time. I'd also be very concerned about the spacing fit between AD and DeMar DeRozan, and AD alongside other rotational pieces like Derrick Jones or Javonte Green, Alex Caruso, and even Drummond when he's back in the lineup. Because even though most of those role players can hit a 3 for you every now and then, it isn't a strong suit for any of their play styles, and their volume size on those amount of shots is way too small to be competent floor spacers. I do believe that his impact will be felt on the defensive end given AD's versatility on that end, of course, again with this team as well. But given their front court status with DeRozan being a negative defender, Vucevic being a negative defender, Drummond, once he comes back, is not really known to be a consistent or a positive defender. You have Ayo Dosunmu, who's been average to above average on that end of the floor, and a quality replacement in Lonzo's absence. You have Alex Caruso, who hustles hard and is one of the better perimeter defenders in the league. And then you add Lonzo to that. God willing, he comes back from his injury pretty successfully and can remain one of the better perimeter defenders in the league as well. Then you got yourself a top 10 defense as well, and who knows where the sky is the limit for Chicago, but I still wouldn't see them being a contender, especially given the choke jobs that DeRozan and Vucevic become in the playoffs. In conclusion, that trade that the Lakers made for Anthony Davis with New Orleans a few years back has definitely came back to bite them in the ass. And out of all these trade scenarios coming from Bleacher Report, I'd have to say, in my opinion, the best return for Anthony Davis out of the 4 had been the Dallas and the Chicago ones, given that I feel like those situations would fully maximize the return that the Lakers would possibly be able to get from an Anthony Davis trade, being that in those specific trades, they'd be gaining a quality offensive piece and some rotational pieces that can fix some holes in their roster. Am I a bandwagon for saying my favorite team I'd like to see him on is Golden State? I don't know what would be included in a supposed trade package, but I think Golden State should go the route of continuing to compete for some chips while Curry, Clay, and Draymond are all still a core. Draymond's a bit questionable whether he'll be on the team, but it's obvious with the way the Warriors season is going that they should probably trade one of their young pieces. But that's a story for another day. That being said, if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like down below. Comment down what team you would like to see AD get traded to, or whether you think he should get traded at all. Alongside with LeBron being in a potential deal as well, should the Lakers throw away their whole season. Me personally, I doubt that either one of them end up getting traded by the end of this season, but I did forget to mention that AD has this year, next year, and I believe the following year after that is a player option, so he can leave a team after about 2 seasons. But again, that being said, let's see how this NBA season go. I don't really believe that any star player is safe on this team in today's NBA trade climate, but yeah, man, I'm out of here. Yeah, y'all be easy.